Here.
All right. Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us this afternoon. My name is Hannah Cropone. I'm the Content Marketing Manager here at Certiport. We're happy to have you joining us for our fourth Certified Academy Business webinar of 2024. Feel free to drop into the chat. As always, let us know where you're joining from, what courses you teach, what ages you teach. Luckily, we're covering the full spectrum today, so we have quite a bit of content that we are ready and excited to share. Now, as always, this session is being recorded, so you'll receive a link to the full recording if you have to drop early. We'll send that via email. That does mean, of course, that everyone is currently on mute, so feel free to drop into the Q&A or the chat feature if you have questions for our panelists as those come up throughout the session today. Our session today is being sponsored by the Microsoft Office Specialist Certification Program. The MOS certification provides industry-leading assessments of skills and knowledge, giving students and professionals real-world exercises to appraise their understanding of Microsoft Office. In the United States, over 1.17 million jobs request Microsoft Office skills. With a MOS certification, learners can prove that they have the skills to be more effective and productive, as well as have higher work quality. And we'll drop the link to the chat here shortly for more information if you're interested in learning more about MOS certification. And today, of course, we're talking about exploring workforce readiness through project-based learning with Microsoft Office Specialist. And we'll be learning from three incredible educators, Jan Wendt, Karen Columbi, and Lorraine Clausen. Jan is a business technology instructor at Lakeview High School, a rural junior senior high school of 469 students near Columbus, Nebraska. She's in her 40th year of teaching and is the organization administrator for the Certiport Microsoft Office Specialist Program. She was instrumental in their school becoming a part of the Nebraska Microsoft IT Initiative in 2016 and is qualified to remain members of the initiative for 7 years. From 2017 to present, Lakeview has been the home of 7 state champions, 1 national champion, and 1 fifth-place finisher in the MOS World Competition in 2022. She currently has 2 state champions and will be competing at the national competition this summer in Orlando, which we'll touch a little bit on later. Jan also served as a presenter for Certiport's Certified Educator Conference in Orlando in 2021. Karen Columbi has taught a variety of career and technical education courses at the 8th through 12th grade level, as well as the community college since the early 2000s. Her focus is on expanding hands-on and experiential learning in meaningful ways to add valuable tools to the student's toolbox, building confidence and a resume of tangible skills to market in the workplace. Karen has seen certifications used to enhance resumes for those who need to get right to work, as well as to differentiate students working toward competitive internships, scholarships, and college programs. The most significant connection from certification to the real world is understanding how to work to achieve goals using the resources available. And before teaching, Karen worked for over a decade as an avionics technician at Boeing, DynCorp Aerospace, and the U.S. Air Force on programs including Air Force One, the B-2 bomber, and multiple F-16 deployments abroad. And last but certainly not least, we have Lorraine Clausen. Lorraine is a Microsoft certified trainer and assistant director of IT training and communications at Southern Methodist University in Dallas, Texas. She took her first Microsoft Office Specialist exam in 2010 for personal development and has been hooked ever since. In 2017, she spearheaded the MOS program at SMU after attending her first certified conference. Their program has now certified over 35,000 students within 4 years. Lorraine oversees the administrative side of the program, working with over 15 faculty members to integrate the MOS exams into their curriculum. She frequently teaches office workshops to students and is a native of Massachusetts, but now calls Texas her home. So I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing so we can see these lovely ladies and give a chance to do some quick introductions. So we'll still circle around the block backwards. So Lorraine, we'll go ahead and start with you. Tell us a little bit about yourself and your experience with MOS.
Yeah, hi everyone. Can you hear me all right?
Yes, sounds great.
Awesome. My name is Lorraine Clausen. I'm with Southern Methodist University in Dallas. And as Hannah said, I'm a Microsoft certified trainer. And I got hooked on Microsoft certifications and just saw the benefit for me personally. And as a trainer, I started training students on campus. And one by one, they started asking me, how do you get certified? And we had a problem that was a little awkward for me. I'd have to go send them to other schools. So decided to get the MOS certification program established here at SMU, and we're going pretty strong. So that's a little bit about me.
Awesome. Thanks, Lorraine. Karen, do you want to go ahead and give us a quick introduction into you and your experience with MOS as well?
Hi, I'm Karen, and I teach at Cavallero Mid-High, which is an 8th and 9th grade. I teach 9th grade only. When I first came here, I wanted to make my program important for kids. So I had come from a different program where we did a lot of industry certifications for electronics, and I tried to find the most important thing for students taking my program. And I found Certiport, and it was amazing. I did it in the first month or two that I took this job on and became a proctor immediately, failed my first test promptly, and was like, wow, this is really hard. So once I did that, I could really advocate how hard this is and what a yardstick it is. So I love doing this. The students, they really enjoy it. Not only do they all get certified, like we have probably 800 to 900 certifications a year just with my little classes. I'm the only proctor, but I love it and can't wait to talk more about it.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Karen. Jen, we'll come to you next.
Okay, I'm Jan Wendt, and I teach at this rural high school, Lakeview High School. I teach 9th and 10th graders. At the 10th grade level is where IT fundamentals is taught, and IT applications first semester, which is when we really hit the office programs pretty hard and do a lot of our testing at that time. I've been a part of the certification program here since Nebraska. I don't know if other states are similar, but they had the IT initiative where our governor at the time saw the value in certification and got on board right away because it sounded fantastic. Got 500 free vouchers for testing, which we have continued to qualify for over the last 7 years. And you just can't say enough good things about what a great opportunity it is for kids, and really promote it and hype it up, and the kids get on board, and they think I go a little crazy and maybe overboard sometimes, but when they see our wall and they see their certificates on the wall, they're really proud of that. And kind of like Karen said earlier, after the kids take the first test, many times they're like, wow, that was really hard. I said, yeah, but you still certified. And if it wasn't difficult, everyone could certify and it wouldn't mean anything. So take so much pride in what you've done. And kids now are really on board. And, it's snowballed through the years that they can't wait to become a part of it. And I just can't say enough wonderful things about it.
Amazing, Jen. So I'm going to come to you if that's all right for our first question.
Sure.
You've touched on it a little bit already, but why do you think it's important to build Microsoft Office skills in the classroom and in the workplace?
Right. Well, first of all, there's no question. I don't think anyone can argue that Microsoft is considered to be the industry standard. If an employer or employee comes in or potential candidate, I should say, and on their resume, they've got these certifications, they know what that is and they really value that. It's an essential tool for finding work in almost any industry right now, I think. In fact, I had a student once come back, and that doesn't always happen, but after graduation came back and really thanked me for stressing the importance of learning the Microsoft programs and also for becoming certified, because he wanted to be a part of this internship at Exxon Oil in Texas. And he did become, he was an intern, but only because he had Word, Excel, and PowerPoint certifications. Otherwise, he would not even been considered. And I think sometimes students aren't always aware of how that's going to help them later, unless we, let them know. I also think that even before the workplace, we need to think about at the collegiate level, because I've had several students come back after they've graduated and said, yeah, they knew it would probably be helpful, but they didn't even realize until they got into their college courses just how helpful it was in order for them to breeze through, because of their knowledge in the Microsoft applications that they knew, as compared to some of their classmates who didn't have that background before coming in. Here at Lakeview, it's a required course, which I'm very thankful for. So I just, again, can't stress enough the importance of being well-versed in Microsoft at the high school level so that it will carry through in college and ultimately in their career.
That's wonderful. And I always love hearing some of these anecdotes, and we're actually going to go into a couple of these. Lorraine, we'll come to you first. How have you seen the MOS certification impact students and professionals that you work with and train?
Sure. Well, this year we started requiring Excel certification for all our business school students. So previously, just to give you a little background, I work with about 20 faculty on campus.
Mm.
And we have like our School of Arts that utilize it and several different programs. And our business school was utilizing certification, but it wasn't a mandate that you had to have this. So on a professional level, once we did that, what our staff was able to do was really to be able to speak to our employment partners. So with our career center, it just elevated our business school. So that's one thing I've seen on the staff and kind of on the professional side. But on the student side, similar to what Jan said, I've just had multiple students, tell me that they've secured an internship because of their certification. And just in general, it just boosts their confidence. They speak very highly of their experience.
I love that. And I think, Karen, you've had similar experiences. I've been able to come to your classroom, so I wanted to come to you next. How have you seen this impact students at this kind of ninth grade level?
I'm gonna kind of take a giant leap back and share something with you guys.
Yeah, please.
I think what happens is that oftentimes we, the collective we of people, think that students or children have more technology skills than they actually have. So we suddenly think because we gave them a Chromebook, they know everything about software programs. Because they have a keyboard, they know how to actually keyboard. And a lot of times that is not the case. I have students that don't even know how to save a file, but people think they don't need a basic computer class because they've been using computers. Well, they have, but because you've been using computers, you have huge gaps in what you know, right? And we are a Google school, which a lot of schools are a Google school, and we get a lot of money from our community. And when our kids graduate, if they go on to jobs in college and they are not prepared adequately for those endeavors, we look bad as a school asking for more money. So my concern is that I need to prepare those kids. And the preparation is this. If you look at I'm from Washington State. If you look at the University of Washington's engineering department, it literally says entrance into this department. One of the entry level things they want you to have is proficiency with Microsoft Office. So they just tell you right away, you better know how to use Microsoft Office. And oftentimes people go, they can use Google. Okay, it's like driving a stick shift, driving an automatic, not the same. So my kids have excelled because they can go to college programs where they're expected to make an Excel spreadsheet, a complex one, on the second day of class, and they can do it. They've excelled because they can work with clients in a setting and they actually understand, oh, hey, I can do this like better with macros. And let me show you an easier way to do this. And also professionally, we are very close to the Boeing company. So we have, we're around the corner from Boeing. And as I help students apply, as they're graduating from high school, they come back and see me. One of the first questions on the list is, how much experience do you have with Microsoft Office? Like Boeing wants to know. They're applying as a mechanic and Boeing wants to know. So I'm telling you, every employer is expecting you to have these skills. And every college is expecting you to walk in knowing how to use an Excel spreadsheet and your way around Outlook, et cetera. So the problem becomes the schools aren't meeting that expectation. And we do. And I feel really good that we do. Because when my students come back and say, oh, I was helping all my friends figure out the differences, and I like set up a little class in my dorm room. And I'm like, that's what I want to hear. But I wish everybody was able to do the Microsoft certifications, not just the people who selected an elective like me. I wish it was a requirement for everybody. But I've had students, one of my students actually works in Washington, D.C. This last summer as a publicist, like was in with the journalism folks. And the first question they asked was, do you have office experience? And when she said yes, they said, oh, great. Well, let's look at getting you your security clearance. So when she said she had the certifications, she got to forego all the testing. Otherwise, she would have had to have done a myriad of testing. So it was good for her. It was good for us. But there's tons of stories like that. And the big deal is there's this huge gap. We're telling people, community members, everybody that we're giving kids technology, but this much is missing and it's Microsoft, and we got to do better.
I love that. Lorraine, did you have something to add to that as well? And it has you on mute. Yep, perfect.
Yes, I love both what Jan and Karen said. And one thing I'm seeing at the collegiate level is the difference between when a school is Google Classroom and versus if they have this Microsoft background. So I love, Karen, that you have that, even though you are a Google Classroom, because I don't think we always see that. And I just can't speak enough to the impact of that when you're at the college level if you don't have that. And so really what we have is we're kind of filling in the gaps when it doesn't happen. But just kudos to both of these teachers here. I just wanted to mention that.
Oh, I love that. And I think going into some of the other things that we wanted to talk about, there's a difference between, in a lot of cases, classroom learning. So if we have a Google Classroom or something like that, and then the real world application. So I wanted to talk about how do you bridge that gap between classroom experience and real world application when you're talking about Microsoft Office. So Lorraine, we'll come to you first.
Yes. So in my experience, because I'm basically, you can consider me the educational partner with our faculty. Okay, so I have about 20 different faculty that deliver these certifications. Some of them will actually teach office certification material to prepare their students for the exam. Others, what they are doing is they are, allowing extra credit or requiring some sort of self-study. So in those instances, what we do is we provide a self-service model. So I'm going to make sure that students have their exam objectives. We utilize Gmetrics practice exams. So I'll have, some tutorials on how to use it and how to download it. And then we also at our school, we have a license with LinkedIn Learning, and there are Cert Prep video courses for all of those if you have access to LinkedIn Learning. So that's kind of one of the things that we do. And then I also offer training sessions to try to really bring in that practical application. So if they need a little bit more help, then they'll come and visit me. So that's kind of how we do that.
So I want to ask a follow-up to that. What types of projects, when you're conducting those types of training sessions, what are you having students tackle as they're learning Microsoft Office?
Yeah, so yesterday I did an Excel session. And so we were teaching text formulas. And so what I try to do is I just try to make it as very applicable to them. So most students are part of a student group, right? So we had a project as if we were doing donations and merging letters with text formulas to get your first name, last name together and concatenate and use text join. And then later on, we looked at some if logic. And so if we had this big, event, how would we assign, like, let's say we had various donors for our event. How would I assign the students, for those that are below $100 or at different levels? And so we used if logic formulas to put their names for the appropriate level. So just very practical, whatever I can do to make it as practical as possible.
I love that. I love that. And I think that's where it really comes in, right? That this is something that you're learning in the classroom, but also has that real world application. So being able to bridge that gap. Karen, any additional thoughts from you, how you're bridging the gap with a younger demographic of students?
Well, we are a school of about 1,700. And again, my ninth graders are sort of the upperclassmen here, if you think of it like that. So whenever staff members need to lean into somebody, they come to my kids. So they've done things like they've helped the basketball coach, who is also the math teacher. He had this spreadsheet that he was using in real time to sort of inform himself of how, like, what's going on in the game, so he knew who to put in next. And the kid came down and showed him all sorts of ideas and better ways to do it. In fact, they're developing an app together now because he's like, the math teacher is pretty wowed by that. Our resource officer, which is our local police department, they came to my students because they were doing some union work and they needed my kids to do all of the different pay scales in Excel. So the proposed pay scales, they had the kids come down and do it. I had everybody just do it, but I had my upper ones do the right ones, and send those on because we want to make sure the cop shop's getting the right stuff. And we also went through and did all the bylaws again for the police department. We wanted them to have everything written in the same font and have everything so you could click and go to a different section.
Sure.
And we've done that for our union too. So that, you know how sometimes the bylaws end up in 3 different fonts, nothing works, it doesn't click right. Well, they do everything from soup to nuts on the tables of contents through. And anytime anybody needs something, one thing that really knocked people's socks off, our nurse was getting her PhD and she had a lot of data she needed to collect. And she had a couple of my expert level 9th graders go over and help her. What she was really wowed with was how the Excel spreadsheet, if linked properly, would change in everything. So her PowerPoint would automatically change. She could password protect that chart so that the other student that was doing it didn't mess up her chart. So she had everything all done with the help of students. And she's like, I can't believe these little 9th graders know this much. So it was awesome.
I love that. And you've talked a lot about the practical component, but I know, of course, there's the theoretical as well. We kind of have to dive into the basics first. So how do you bring those two together when you're structuring your course, Karen?
Well, I like to think because I've taught for so long, I know there's a problem sometimes in teaching. And that problem is so here's a kid, they're way down below where you can even see. And we start here because we think that's low. It's low for us because we've been doing it 21 years, right? We have to start like you're teaching, for me, my 10-year-old grandson, all right? Okay, what does Jack need to know about files? And where do I put my files? And how do I name? What's a file convention? What's the cloud? We start with all the basics. And I'm on them all the time about naming and what's my file extension mean? Can I change my file extension? And how do I do that? So if you build all that into your daily work, as you go and you're using the vocabulary consistently, you'll find your kids are doing the same thing. And that is really, really important because I tell them, if you get out over to Boeing and you're the top of the line person on the computer, but you're using terms like click that thingy in the corner, like people don't think you know what you're talking about. If you're like, go to the fill handle, they're like, wow, that guy knows what he's doing, right? So we want to make sure they're using the terms so that A, it helps them remember, but B, it also puts them at a professional level we want them to be at as well.
I love that.
I don't know if that answered your question.
No, that does answer. I think that that's great because a lot of times, to your point, when you're an expert in a particular area, it's hard to be able to speak to those who you're teaching, right? Because they are at a different level of knowledge. So being able to understand where we're at to start and then kind of building from there, and the practical and the theoretical kind of come together.
And I'm probably the youngest age group here as 9th graders. And I'm going to tell you folks, this year at the start of 9th grade, they did not know what a flash drive was. I even had to explain what a USB port was because they did not understand what I was talking about. So I'm like, oh, because you've all just gotten all this stuff and everything goes to the cloud, nobody even knows what a flash drive is anymore. And how to save and structures is like that. Like you want to put it in folders. And I pull out folders and I show them and I have pictures. And I go, can I put a picture in a folder? Can I put a folder in a folder? And I'm like, right. That's what you're doing.
The visual component. I love that. So Laureen, I'm going to come back to you if that's okay and talk about working with business, right? So you're at the collegiate level and we of course have students who are, after they're leaving SMU, are wanting to find jobs. What recommendations do you have for educators who want to bring that level of business or that applicability into the classroom where they're teaching?
I think the more success stories that you can share with your students, the better off you are. And that's everything from bringing in guest speakers. And, I can't remember the number you said at the very beginning, but 1 billion users or of
1 million,
Office, right?
Yep.
1 million users, sorry. I mean, Office is the most widely used application. So
Yes.
every success story that you can give, and very practical application. So anything, again, from guest speakers or projects, but also you really need to tout your student successes so that you can continue to get that buy-in from others.
I love that. And I think that this is something that we try to kind of toot everyone else's horn. I know it's hard for educators who are on the ground spending time being able to do that, but if anyone is interested or has questions about that, we have tons of these success stories, students and institutions who have seen the success of the program. So I love that. Jan, we've had you patiently waiting for a minute, so I wanted to come back and leverage your expertise here. We're talking about testing students, right? Helping them gain knowledge and get to a specific level. But of course, along the way, you kind of have to gauge their learning and understanding to make sure that they're ready when it comes time to take the certification. So what methods do you use to assess and kind of evaluate students' performance before they take the certification exam?
Sure, and I'll speak to that in a minute, but yes, I have been waiting patiently, but I've really enjoyed listening to the ladies and hearing what they share because so much of what they're saying is totally applies to what we're doing here too. And I'm learning some things along the way too. The visual examples that are seem so obvious, but yet aren't. I get that.
Yeah.
And so this is great just hearing what they all have to say too. So to address the question that you just asked, I would say, like I said, we do test some second semester, but that's kind of hit and miss because first semester is a required course and it is strictly Microsoft Office, Word, Excel, PowerPoint. We get into Access second semester, but the full focus are those three programs. And well, first of all, so I have what I really like about my class is that it's structured very much like a business office. Okay. So they get a syllabus at the beginning of the week that says these are my expectations every day. You work ahead if you want, because if you're in the workplace, you can work ahead and maybe even be done for the week. But for me, work ahead if you want, or what time you have left, you can work on other things. Okay. So it's self-paced to a certain degree, but yet not, because some would just want to work ahead. You know, the textbook I use is called Microsoft Office Illustrated. And basically it's technical reading. Many times we'll do projects together if they seem a little more complicated. But for the most part, once they learn kind of the rhythm of the class, they love it because if they need to take their time and go at a slower pace, they can. If they want to work faster, they don't have to wait, you know? And so, you know, there'll be several modules for each of those programs. And then following Word, we always start with Word. We do, there's a comprehensive like production test. And then we spend a day or two going through tutorials. I personally really, I mean, G-metrics is great. We really focus a lot on G-metrics for the kids that want to go next level, especially those that are competing at the national level and beyond. But for all the kids to, you know, that they just want to certify, they know that they might not be a national champion. That's okay. I use, it's called Mike's Office. That is awesome. He engages those kids. It's not like they don't work on their own. He works with them, and it's not just me. You know, I mean, I get along great with my students, don't get me wrong, but they see me every day, you know, and they just see Mike, you know, once every quarter or whatever. Anyway, so he walks them through, and then for a small fee, you can get the files. And let me tell you, a $3 monthly fee is worth the files. I used to put them together myself. Why? You know? And so he just is very engaging, and the kids, he speaks to their level. And if they follow along and do what they're supposed to do, they'll certify. And then I put all those, we use a Canvas platform for kids. So all those things can be available to them. And I won't let them test until they've completed the tutorials because, you know, I mean, if they had to pay for the test themselves, they need to understand that they're not just free. Yeah, they are free for us, but someone's paying for them for you to have this opportunity. So I have found that to be very helpful, and helps the kids be successful.
Yeah. I like that you've mentioned some free or almost free resources along with some paid, because I think that we need a little bit of a balance of those, right, in the classroom to be able to say, these are ones that we can use and use as much as we want. These are ones that we kind of save until the end to see how we're doing, see if the students are really ready. Because I think every educator who's listening, you have to find the balance with your budget, right? Figuring out what really works.
Always.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Jen. That's incredibly helpful. So going in then, we've talked about preparation. We've talked about these projects and things that we have students do. Karen, I'm going to come to you next and talk about the certification. So why did you talked about you've been doing this kind of since you walked into this school. Why do you certify specifically with the Microsoft Office Specialist exams from Certiport?
So I am a consumer, and I think we all are, right? Like, my time is valuable, and I have to be very, I vet everything I do because I don't want to waste any time as a consumer. So when I was new to the program, first step was I went to the college that I articulate college credit with, and I saw, what do you do? And they were using Certiport. So if the college is using Certiport and I am the bridge to college or the replacement for that college class, if they get the dual credit, I need to be doing exactly what they're doing. Then I went up one higher level to university, and that is sort of like, that's the standard. Some of the employers had not heard of certifications before, but as soon as a student says, I'm actually certified in that, they want to hear more. So when we write that in their cover letters, they're like, wow, you're master certified? What's an expert level certification? And then one employer actually told me, I saw this in a kid's cover letter and thought, I don't even know what this is, so I have to interview this kid to find out more. So that's exactly what I wanted to happen. So I did that because it's a very quantifiable unit of measure, and it's hard. I will say real quickly that some people thought it was like, I'm not going to use a specific name, other like high school level tests that are out there as tests. It's way harder than that. It's really industry level. So I actually, the first time we had a kid certify, I used to send it to the principal and say, somebody, Johnny certified, wow. And on the third certification, he came in, I love my principal. He came and he said, so nice that they do those cute little certifications. And I am the cheapest person ever. Like, my big bet's like a quarter. And I said, Mike, I have $100 that says there is not one of these tests you can pass. I go, PowerPoint, any of them, you can't pass them. And he's like, I use that every day. I'm like, $100 says you can't. He would not take the bet. But I'm gonna these are hard tests. And I got, like I said, I got a 237 and I knew what I was doing. I went down a rabbit hole. So I do think it not just tests them in their skills, it tests them in their ability to read for comprehension, read for detail, use their time wisely. These are telling employers a lot about that student. I love them. I think they're great.
Amazing. And I wanted to bring it full circle. So we maybe have people who are listening, who are watching today, who are new to Microsoft Office or new to certification. So Jan, we'll come to you first. What advice would you share with them about the Microsoft Office program or industry certification in general? And we have you on mute, I think, right now, Jan.
So I think I've probably spoken to a lot of what I might be saying here, but I'll just go ahead and reiterate because I think it's that important. But, obviously, I cannot say enough good things about Microsoft. I've been a business teacher my whole life. So, that's what I know. That's what I teach. That's what I think is most important. Sometimes it's tricky when you have administrators that are more about Google. And I guess I have a mix on my administrative team here. So that's a good thing. But, they're always looking at free. But for me, it's all about Microsoft, and it's what's going to take you. That's what I try to get across to the students. It's what's going to take you places, having that under your belt. You can learn the other programs very easily because you know Microsoft already. And if you know Microsoft, you're going to be fine. You're going to take that straight into your future and just fly with it. But I guess the best advice I can give you to get kids on board, because many times coming up from the grade schools, that's not what they're used to. That's not what they know. That's not what they like, only because it's not what they know. But once, if you present it to them in such a way that you can do this, you're going to be fine. And this is where it's going to take you. You just have to promote it, promote. And as I said earlier, over the years, we've had such great success, and that snowballs. But the promotion piece is huge. And, displaying those certificates on the wall is a visual reminder every day that kids are so proud of. I mean, when they pass and they call me over and we can see that they've got that passing score, there's so much pride. And I always focus on how you're helping your students in your class build that resume with something that's very solid and very much recognized out there.
I like the confidence piece, but then also that it has real world applicability, right? It's not just, oh, how great that I passed, right? Because I think students feel really good when they do well on a test, but that the test means something outside of the classroom too.
Yep.
Yeah, agreed. That's wonderful, Jan. Laureen, anything that you wanted to add from a collegiate perspective, advice for our college level educators?
Well, since I work with those that offer certification and maybe teach to it and some that don't, I kind of have had the same experience that Karen had with her principal. And I just say get certified. If you think you're going to do it, like, you need to certify along with your students, right? And that's just so important. And then just kind of echo what Jan said, promoting the successes, and it really only takes one or two. When you have one or two students that certify, it's going to catch like wildfire, and this enthusiasm for learning, and they will start asking, oh, can I certify in this application? Can I certify in that application? And it's just a huge investment into your school. I say do it now. I love the certifications. So excellent products.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Laureen. And Karen, I saw a hand raised, so we have some some comments, some advice. Let's hear from you.
Oh, teachers just can't help but talk. So a couple of quick things is that my students are allowed to get college credit through, articulating. And the class, if they just go through the regular class, get a B or better, unmodified curriculum, 5 college credits. But we have a variable credit based on advanced certifications. So they can get up to 26 college credits out of this class. I am the only class in the entire district that allows that amount of credits. So that if you're ever looking to recruit for your classroom and you can offer 26, do 150 kids get 26? No. Last year, like 8 kids got the 26. You have to work pretty hard to get all those expert level exams. So they're working from home using all those resources. Also, all the students report their test anxiety is down. They understand how to calm themselves for tests, and they say everything is now improved, whether it's a high stakes test or just a test. I had a boy last year who he couldn't even take any of my tests. He would come in and he would sit for the test. He'd be done in 5 minutes because he was so anxious. At the end, he's certified, and I thought he was going to cry. And he's a football player. He was like, I did it. I sat through a whole test. So test anxiety goes away. It's like allergy shots where you get enough of them, then now they can take a test. I love it.
I love that. I love that it helps, to your point, and I think we've all touched on this now. It's not just about your classroom and what's happening inside your classroom. It helps in other courses, but then also I think in their workplace experience, in so many other ways, that confidence really goes with them. We've gotten a couple questions here in the chat, and I see that you guys have been responding to those, which is great. I just want to make sure that we capture those for people who haven't been able to see it. So one of the questions is, are you doing the associate level testing or the expert level for Word and Excel? So we'll give that to everyone just to get some perspective on what everyone's doing. So Jan, can we come to you? What level of testing are you doing with your students? Has you on mute, I think, still, Jen.
So it's associate level at the first semester, and then the people at Certiport do such a wonderful job sending like if the kids get all three, then they get that, then they get a special certificate for that. And then any student, as far as expert level, you know, only if they want to pursue that, they come talk to me and then we can make that happen. But for the most part, most kids don't go to that next level, because I have had some, but it definitely takes kids that are extra motivated.
And some additional preparation, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so I've had a handful. They know it's there, they know it's available, but most of them are very content to just get their associate, and I am too. But if they want to go that next step, they come to me, we make it happen. And I've had a handful, but it's definitely not all.
Gotcha.
I would rather them get the 3 associates.
For sure. Karen, I saw that
I should say special. I should have said specialist. And then if they have all 3, then they're an associate.
Then they can move to the expert level.
There you go.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yep.
Karen, is that what you're doing as well?
No, we start out in the first 6 weeks. I'm telling everybody they're like horses with a bit in their mouth. I'm like, calm down. It's going to be okay. It'll be all right. So we get through the word. And as soon as we test for word, if you pass on that first certification, you're on to word expert. And then after that, you're on to, like, I have people, this is February there. I have so far, it's 90 students in those classes that do this. I have, I think, 5 that have finished all the way through access.
Wow.
So they just tear through the curriculum because while we're doing our PowerPoint and our, our other stuff, they are way ahead of us and they take it home. Their parents will tell me because they want it's like collecting Pokemon. They're like, wow, I get another 5 college credits for that. I'm doing access. So I think the college credit's a nice dangle. Also, our community colleges offer a 1-year certificate that if they get one more class at the community college, they can get the 1-year certificate. So that's helpful too, to sort of put that into play and say, look, you can have this business communications certificate if you do this one other class. So that's why most of mine want the expert levels.
Sure. Awesome. Laureen, I'm curious for the collegiate level students, what you're traditionally offering, the associate or the expert.
Yeah, so for our business school, they are taking both the Excel associate and expert. And so first semester, they're taking associate, and it varies when they may, depending on their major, when they may get the expert exam. And then our School of Arts, they require Word, PowerPoint, and Excel associate. And I have several professors that have said, like, if you happen to take Word in another class or something else, like, well, you'll have to do the expert. You'll have to find one you haven't taken. So we have a mix there, but I would say primarily the expert level for us is offered up on the Excel application.
Fabulous. So then thinking about these difficult exams, right? We have both the associate and the expert that are being offered across the board. The second question that came in is, do you use geometrics or textbooks, digital materials to help your students prepare? So I think just curriculum options, what's everyone using? So Laureen, we'll come to you first to talk about that.
So I know that some of our professors use some Pearson material. Also, we use geometrics. That's just a requirement for everyone on campus. If they're going to test with us, the way we have our program set up is you actually will test in our lab that's administered through IT training. So we require, in order to come sit with us, and these students have to follow that, whether their professors are asking them or not, they have to have a minimum of 1 test in geometrics with 800 or higher in the testing mode to be able to come and sit with us. And then other materials, we have LinkedIn Learning license at our university, so we also point them to that as well.
Perfect. Awesome. And you touched on both of those earlier. Thank you, Laureen. Jan, what curriculum and you've talked about the textbook that you use, talked about geometrics. Are there other resources outside of those that are available for purchase, I guess, because we've talked about some of those free ones as well?
We honestly, what I just shared with you is what we use. I mean, we've done the test at home, the test out at home, for students that want that option. But beyond what we talked about, those are my textbook, which is fantastic. And then the geometrics and the Mike's tutorials, we stick pretty primarily just with those. Yep.
Awesome. And Karen, I saw that you dropped a couple of other options into the chat as well.
So my kids don't, we have textbooks. I used to actually have them do the first thing in the textbook, and it was so cumbersome and so tiring that they couldn't stand it. I bought $5,000 worth of textbooks, but they went along with the Sam Cengage Learning, which they'll do. Those are very interactive. Years ago, before COVID, I would put 25 skills together. The kids' attention span's a little lower, so now I do about 12 skills at a time. They can get them done in one classroom session, and they have 12 new skills in one classroom session. So we get through the skills. That helps them learn the program. But then we go to geometrics. And what's great about geometrics is it's not just the practice tests that are there. If you have used custom tests, those are the bomb. What you do is you do a quick test. You see where each kid needs help, and you create a custom test based on those kids' needs. So when your boss comes in to observe you, you're like, oh, I scaffolded everything. And you can literally show them how you do that. So they love you so much. You can actually make modified. So I have kids that are life skills in here, and I do the lowest ones for them with the easiest skills and just write, modified team. And then I do the higher levels. And so I have a ton of custom tests. So that feature is awesome. And the Brendan Sinclair videos, my kids love Brendan Sinclair. We like Mike's Office. He's better for the advanced stuff, but Brendan Sinclair is the bomb for the basics. They're short and sweet and to the point.
Love it. All sorts of awesome resources. So thank you for walking through those with us. I just wanted to give a thank you for all three of these wonderful ladies for sharing their expertise with us this afternoon. Before we close, I just wanted to call out a few things. Of course, this webinar is not the beginning and end of the experience that you can have learning about Microsoft Office Specialist certification. We also offer a boot camp as part of this program. So if you're listening and you think, oh, that curriculum sounds really interesting, or I'd love to test out those practice tests or even try out a certification exam myself, you're more than welcome to email us at certifiedacademy@pearson.com, and we can walk you through the best way to be able to get access to some of these materials that have been highlighted today. The second announcement is that we are so excited to be able to talk more about this as we go into our annual Certified Educators Conference this summer in June. So June 17th through the 19th, happening in Orlando, Florida again this year. So if you want to dive in with more educators like these incredible women to learn more about Microsoft or any of the certification programs that we offer, I would encourage you to go to certified.certiport.com. You can see all of the things that we have on the agenda, everything that's going to be coming up, so that you can get registered and learn a little bit more about that as well. The third and final announcement is that our next session will be happening in 2 weeks. We'll be hosting a presentation about our newest certification, the Meta Certified Digital Marketing Associate. So keep an eye out on your inboxes for additional details about that. That'll be happening the middle of March. So if you are a business teacher and are looking for some additional resources for your classroom or want to learn a little bit more about that program, feel free to join us for that as well. As always, thank you everyone for spending time with us this afternoon. We look forward to seeing everyone here in just a couple weeks. Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you, ladies, especially for your expertise this afternoon. We appreciate you.
Bye, guys.